Picture this: Paris Hilton and Carter, Hollywood's golden couple, the image of glam, love, and legacy. But lately, the shine's wearing off. Behind the designer's smiles and luxury getaways, insiders say the tension is boiling. Paris, the queen of Y2K and the blueprint for every influencer alive today, reportedly broke down in tears after a fight that left everyone wondering, is the fairy tale finally cracking? The cameras catch perfection, but behind the scenes, it's drama, doubts, and heartbreak. This isn't just gossip, it's the unraveling of a carefully crafted empire. So, grab your popcorn, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned because this story is about to expose the real Paris Hilton. Flashback to November 2021, Bear, California. The Hilton estate transformed into a literal dreamscape. White roses spilling over gold arches, chandeliers floating above the lawn, and cameras capturing every perfect second for Paris in love. Paris Hilton didn't just have a wedding, she had a spectacle. It was part fairy tale, part reality show, and all about rebirth. After decades of being labeled the party girl, the it girl, the drama magnet, this was her transformation moment. The moment she proved she could be serious, settled, and finally happy. Carter Reum stood beside her, the quiet businessman with the clean-cut charm. To the world, he was the man who grounded her, the one who saw past the diamonds and designer dresses. They weren't just newlyweds, they were the poster couple for modern love. Friends turned soulmates, a story that felt destined. People couldn't get enough of it. The headlines gushed as Paris finally finds her forever. The media painted her as the girl who survived Hollywood, who fought through heartbreak, scandals, and fake friends, and finally found peace. She said it herself. Carter is my fairy tale ending. For once, Paris Hilton wasn't chasing the spotlight, she was glowing in it. Family, friends, fans, everyone believed this was the happy ending she deserved. But here's the thing about fairy tales, they're built for cameras. Behind the edited footage, insiders say things weren't as effortless as they looked. Paris was trying to balance her brand, her reality show, her fertility struggles, and a marriage that was still finding its rhythm. Carter, calm and collected in public, reportedly grew frustrated with how much of their life was being shared. The pressure, the schedules, the cameras, they all added up. What looked like calm was really controlled chaos. And calm doesn't sell. Not in Hollywood. Behind that flawless facade, storm clouds were already forming. The perfect love story that promised forever was already starting to feel like another reality show with a fragile script. And this time, no one knew if the ending would be happy. Carter and Paris, they couldn't have seemed more different if they tried. Carter, the grounded business-focused type, low-key, camera-shy, the kind of man who values privacy over publicity. He built his empire quietly, made his moves strategically, and stayed out of the tabloids. Paris, she was the exact opposite, a spotlight magnet. Every moment curated, every outfit a headline, every appearance a branding opportunity. She thrived on attention, thrived on the chaos, thrived on being seen. At first, their differences felt like perfect harmony. Carter grounded Paris, gave her calm after decades of whirlwind fame. Paris brought energy and excitement into Carter's structured world. To the outside world, it looked like magic. Opposites attract, perfectly complementing each other. Friends said she seemed happier, more centered. He seemed more alive, more connected to the fun of life. Their personalities didn't just clash, they balanced, creating what looked like the ideal partnership. But here's where the story shifts. The very differences that had drawn them together slowly started to reveal cracks. Paris's need for visibility and constant engagement sometimes clashed with Carter's preference for privacy and control. Decisions that once felt natural now sparked disagreements, from media appearances to business moves to how they spent their time together. Even small choices began to carry weight. What started as harmony began to feel like a compromise. What started as a balance soon became a battle for control, though not the kind anyone outside could see. It was subtle. Missed calls, unspoken frustrations, quiet sighs, a tension that grew under the surface behind the cameras and the smiles. The whirlwind persona and the calm anchor that had seemed so perfect began to pull in opposite directions, and while both tried to navigate the friction with grace, insiders say it was impossible to ignore. The very differences that had made them magnetic were now threatening to unravel the fairy tale they had built so carefully. The love story everyone admired was quietly facing its first real test. Nikki Hilton, Paris's younger sister, best friend, and the ultimate protector. Growing up side by side, she's always been the one to step in when things got messy, offering guidance, advice, and a shoulder to lean on. For Paris, that bond was everything. She trusted Nikki with her fears, her heartbreaks, her doubts, and the sisterly relationship that had been a constant through every high and low. But insiders say Carter didn't always see it that way. What Paris considered support, Carter reportedly felt as interference. Every suggestion, every check-in, every quiet word of wisdom from Nikki became, in his eyes, a challenge. A subtle questioning of his role, his decisions, his authority. Paris leaned on her sister for comfort and perspective, But to Carter, it sometimes felt like competition, like he was being measured against Nikki's influence. Friends say conversations that once seemed innocent started carrying weight. Small disagreements turned into moments of friction, and the once invisible boundaries began to blur. Some insiders even say it wasn't just a marriage of two people. It was a triangle of influence with Nikki as a silent force in the background, shaping decisions and offering counsel, sometimes unintentionally pushing Carter away. The love and protection that Nikki offered Paris, which had always been a source of strength, now became a quiet point of conflict. It was subtle, a glance, a sigh, a misinterpreted comment. But over time, those small moments stacked up, creating a tension that neither Paris nor Carter could ignore. And while no one wanted drama to take center stage, the presence of this triangle made one thing clear. This marriage wasn't just about two hearts, it was about influence, loyalty, trust, and the delicate balance of family and love. A balance that was already starting to tip. After the fairy tale wedding, Paris and Carter's lives didn't slow down. They went straight into overdrive thanks to Paris and Love. The docu-series wasn't just a wedding recap, it was a full-time spotlight on their marriage, turning private moments into content for millions. Every laugh, every intimate glance, every small disagreement became something to watch, discuss, and dissect. Insiders say even minor tensions, a quiet sigh here, a frustrated glance there, were amplified, replayed, and transformed into public drama. What might have been a fleeting annoyance in private suddenly carried the weight of public expectation. Fans began to notice the cracks too. Awkward silences in conversations, forced smiles, moments where Paris or Carter seemed tense or distant. And it's easy to see why. When your marriage is a show, every glance and gesture is scrutinized. Where does performance end and in real life begin? Friends say the constant cameras left them exhausted, always aware that nothing was truly private anymore. Even simple disagreements couldn't escape the lens. And insiders suggest that the pressure of living under a constant spotlight slowly wore on both of them. The magical honeymoon phase quickly became a high-stakes balancing act where every moment of joy was countered by the stress of having it recorded, edited, and broadcast for the world to judge. Then came the social media battle. Post-wedding, Paris's life online exploded. Every vacation, every party, every romantic moment shared in full view. But insiders say Carter began pushing back. He wanted boundaries, limits on what they shared. For him, certain parts of their life should have stayed private, sacred, just between them. Paris, who built her career on controlling her image, posting her story, and connecting directly with fans, saw this as a threat. Arguments reportedly broke out, sometimes quiet, sometimes simmering for days. He saw the need for privacy. She saw control. And for someone who spent decades fighting to own her own narrative, being told what not to share hit hard. Friends say these fights weren't loud or dramatic in public, but they were persistent, creeping into every interaction, coloring even joyful moments with tension. The disagreement over posting wasn't just about Instagram or TikTok, it became a symbol of trust, respect, and influence in their marriage. Each post, each story, each curated highlight reel became a negotiation. Carter reportedly felt sidelined, while Paris felt constrained. Their love story, once glossy and flawless, now had a new kind of friction. Private arguments spilling into public scrutiny. And while fans saw only the sparkling posts and headline-making moments behind the screen, the battle over privacy, boundaries, and the right to control their own narrative quietly reshaped the dynamic of their marriage, making every shared moment a potential flashpoint. Paris and Carter's dream of starting a family seemed like the perfect next chapter, but it came with more than just joy. They welcomed Phoenix in January 2023 and London in November 2023, both through surrogacy, marking milestones they had long hoped for. But insiders say what should have been private moments of pure love quickly collided with the realities of their public lives. Every ultrasound, every announcement, every first smile was followed by brand deals, photo shoots, and social media speculation. The excitement and emotional highs were intertwined with logistical stress, privacy versus publicity, love versus business. Even the birth of their children wasn't sacred. It became a headline. Friends say that while they tried to protect the babies from the spotlight, the cameras, the paparazzi, and the relentless social media coverage made it impossible. Joy was shadowed by expectation, wonder shadowed by exposure. The couple reportedly struggled to navigate the balance between being parents and being public figures, and the pressure quietly chipped away at the intimacy they had once relied on. What should have been their most private and beautiful moments were constantly filtered through a lens, leaving both Paris and Carter exhausted, and for Paris, emotionally stretched. Insiders say the tension finally reached a boiling point in a fight that left Paris in tears. The argument, reportedly about boundaries and trust, wasn't about one single event. It was years of pressure compounded by cameras, social media, and outside influence. Words turned sharp, voices carried under stress. Silence turned colder, until Paris broke down. Friends say this wasn't staged for a reality show. This was real, raw, emotional. It was toxic but telling, one insider shared, describing the atmosphere at home as heavy with unspoken resentment and frustration. Another source said, "You could feel the weight of everything, the cameras, the family expectations, the public eye. It all came crashing in that day." For Paris, the moment wasn't just about anger or frustration, it was a stark realization that the marriage she had carefully built, the fairy tale she had worked so hard to maintain, was slipping out of her control. Tears came not from a single fight, but from the accumulation of stress, pressure, and the constant negotiation between love and the impossible expectations of being Paris Hilton in the public eye. And insiders say that after that moment, the energy in the household shifted, a mix of fragility, tension, and the undeniable truth that something had to change, or their dream life could unravel entirely. Love, tension, silence, repeat. That's the rhythm insiders say Paris and Carter have been living in lately. Friends describe it as a cycle that seems impossible to break. Moments of warmth, laughter, and shared smiles followed by arguments, frustration, and quiet withdrawal. It's not that they don't care. Far from it. They still love each other, that's clear. But love isn't the same as peace. And in their case, it's never been simple. Every affectionate glance can quickly turn into a disagreement over boundaries. Every playful conversation can spiral into tension, and moments of connection are often shadowed by lingering stress from the cameras, social media, and family influence. Friends say the emotional highs are intoxicating, like the couple we all adored in their wedding docuseries, Paris in Love. The lows, however, are heavy and quiet, the kind of silence that carries more meaning than words ever could. Insiders emphasize that it's not about villainizing either Paris or Carter. Paris isn't just dramatic. Carter isn't just stoic. Two people are trying to maintain love while under constant public scrutiny. Sympathy doesn't mean taking sides. It's about understanding the pressure of navigating a relationship when every smile, every argument, and every decision could become part of a story told to millions. For those close to them, it's exhausting to witness. And for Paris and Carter, it's an emotional loop that feels inescapable. A cycle of affection and resentment that neither can fully control, no matter how much they try. The tension between public image and private reality has always been central to their story. For Paris, image is survival. She built an empire on control, branding, and influence, learning early that perception could make or break her life. Every post, every appearance, every collaboration is curated, calculated, and deliberate. Carter, on the other hand, values privacy above all else, a sanctuary from the relentless glare of fame. But insiders say you can't have both. Every attempt by Paris to share their story, celebrate milestones, or connect with fans clashes with Carter's need to protect what's sacred. Every argument over boundaries becomes a reflection of this larger tension, the constant push and pull between visibility and intimacy. Friends say that even small disagreements about posts, photos, or public appearances can carry the weight of much deeper issues: trust, control, and respect. It's not just a battle of personalities, it's a collision between lifestyles. And maybe this isn't just Paris and Carter's story, maybe it's the story of anyone trying to hold love together while under a microscope, trying to be perfect in a world that never stops watching, judging, and expecting more than any human could realistically deliver. Fame distorts intimacy. It warps the lines between performance and reality. And for Paris and Carter, the balancing act is constant, exhausting, and insiders say emotionally taxing. Paris and Carter's story is a cautionary tale about love under pressure. The glitter, the glamour, the designer gowns. That's what the world sees behind the lens. Emotional distance, social media battles, family interference, and private struggles that no brand deal or curated post can fix. The tension is palpable, the emotional strain real, and insiders say it's only growing. For Paris, a woman who has spent her life controlling her image, the loss of control in her marriage hits deeply. For Carter, a man who craves privacy, the intrusion of fame into every corner of their life creates a constant pressure. And now the question everyone's asking looms over them. Will they find a way to rebuild privately away from cameras, posts, and the relentless gaze of the public? Or will this fairy tale finally fade into headlines and speculation? One thing is clear, the story isn't over and the stakes are higher than ever. So what do you think? Are they headed for a divorce or just navigating a rough chapter in their lives? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to Spill Society, where we uncover the truth behind Hollywood's biggest illusions. The glamour is real, but so is the struggle. And sometimes it's the struggle that tells the story no one else sees. The story behind the smiles, the photos, and the fairy tale everyone thought was perfect.